He has come to bring light into the darkness. He has come.
So let's continue on the teaching on the introduction for the book of Hebrews right now. And I made a comment earlier that I said, behold the Lamb of God, right? When John says, behold the Lamb of God. And the reason why I wanted to make that point, and then I went in a different direction, is because in order for the lamb to be acceptable for sacrifice, has to be examined and approved by a priest. So if Yeshua didn't go to John, then Yeshua would not qualify as the lamb. Because even though he's the Son of God, he still has to go through the procedure of making and qualifying him. So you notice that Yeshua's ministry began only after John the Baptist died. Okay? Because again, like I was talking about, legal jurisdiction, that's very important. Repeat after me, please. All the high priests are Levites, but not all the Levites are high priests.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like for example, all Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews.
Yes.
Because there are 12 tribes.
Yes.
So the Levites are the same way. You have different families. You have Aaron, you have Moses, you have Merari, you have Kohath, and you have different families. They have brothers between them. And only, this is the core of the teaching, only the high priesthood comes from one line, which is from which brother? Aaron. Very important. Now, the problem in the book of Hebrews is, what creates the problem is the fact that many people don't understand the contrast that the book of Hebrews is trying to convey. Alright? And I'm going to give you the foundation now for the next few minutes. And then we're going to read chapter 7 and chapters 8 and chapters 9 in context. But this is the core issue. There is a research, there's a study in the Talmud, and that Israel, that Adam was the first king priest. I would agree with that. I would agree. The Bible doesn't say it, but I would agree with that. And I believe that Abraham also became a priest. You know? And I also believe that the priesthood was supposed to be given to the firstborn of Israel. That's what the Bible says in Exodus 19. Exodus 19, they were going to be a nation of priests. But there's another understanding about that particular verse that I found about 6 months ago that I want to submit to you. In Egypt, they believed that only the priests of Egypt and the kings can hear the voice of God. That's what they believed. In the ancient world, that's what they believed. Okay? So therefore now, they're slaves in Egypt, and now they're delivered, and when they go to Mount Sinai, I believe that the Father is trying to raise the level of honor of Israel from slaves to peculiar people, and he tells them, if you obey my voice, if you keep my covenant, you'll be a holy nation, a peculiar people, and a nation of priests. And then what happened later on in the chapter? They heard the voice. Everybody heard the voice. See, to us, that may not mean anything, but to them in the ancient world, it meant that they're no longer slaves. They are elite. There are now people who have access. All of them did. That was a huge event. But Israel worshipped the golden calf. When Israel worshipped the golden calf, then the Lord says, you're going to redeem the firstborn. I'm going to call the Levites. Call the Levites to do the work. Okay? So why do you need to redeem the firstborn? Because if you don't receive, because God already said that Israel, it is believed that it was the firstborn of Israel who were going to be priests to him. You understand?
Yes.
You with me?
Yes.
So then, when they worship the golden calf, so what does he do? he establishes the Levites as a gift because the Levites were loyal to the covenant and they were willing to stand up for righteousness. So he says, they transgressed the covenant, so now I'm going to give you the role. But I cannot break my word. So you're going to redeem your firstborn so that you can do your job. It was a legal way for the Lord to say, you can do the job now, but you have to redeem the firstborn of Israel and the animals or whatever, you know, so you can do the job. Is this making sense?
Yes.
We never really connect a lot of this stuff. Okay, so can we say that the Levitical priesthood was not really the original intent? It was not the original intent.
Yeah.
You know, the nation he wanted the whole nation to be representatives so that we hear the voice and they go talk to the whole nation and that Israel will be the mediators of the covenant, that Israel will be the ones leading the nations into the worship of God. You follow?
Yes.
But because of disobedience, now he still has a role for Israel as a nation. But in regards to the temple, he chose the Levites. And out of all the Levites, he chose one family to be high priest. My brother asked me a question, and many people ask the same question too. He said, but wait a minute. Miriam was a cousin of Elizabeth, and Elizabeth was a Cohen. She was a priest, a daughter of a priest. She was from the Cohen line. So would that make Yeshua eligible? Well, and I submitted to him that the priesthood is from the father's side. It's not from the mother's side. The kingship is from the father's side, not from the mother's side. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether or not she was the daughter of a priest or not. It's irrelevant. The fact is that it's her father that has to be the priest. And Yeshua's father was not a line of Aaron. It was of the tribe of Judah. And by the way, Hebrews chapter 8 verse 4 tells you that if Yeshua will be on earth, he cannot be a priest. Clearly tells you that. So it's interesting because Yeshua now is he the king right now or is he the priest? Priest, right? So is he the anointed king or is he the crowned king right now? Anointed. Just like David was anointed and then he became king, right? Interesting. See, I love it when I go places and people catch on like this. Yes. Okay, so when Yeshua returns, in the book of Ezekiel, how many of you studied the book of Ezekiel?
You said study. What does that mean?
All right. How many of you studied the temple, the third temple in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 40 to 47? One person. Oh, Lord, please help more people study that. Man, that's an amazing chapter, right? Okay, in chapters 44, verse 15 says that the Levites, the sons of Zadok, says the Levites, sons of Zadok. It doesn't say that you can call yourself a Sadokim. It doesn't mean that you can call yourself a Sadokim. It doesn't mean that you can call yourself a Sadokim. Even though Sadok means righteous, Sadik, right? But it says the Levites, the sons of, my God, the verse is so clear. It's driving me crazy in the States. Oh, we are now the Melchizedek priesthood. We are from the Sadokim. Sadok. Sadik. The verse says, literally, it says, Levites, the sons of Sadok. And you know why they're going to be officiating in the third temple?
Remain faithful.
They remain faithful during the time of who? David. When during the time of David, there were two high priests, Abiathar and there was Sadok. And then when Adoniah wanted to usurp, encroach on the kingship away from Solomon, he recruited Abiathar, and then Abiathar anointed him, but he did not have the authority. Now, Zadok was faithful to David, and he only did what David said. And because David was appointed by God, by Yah, therefore now he found favor. And because of his loyalty to David, and because he was put there by God, the Lord says, they're the ones that I'm going to use. And those people are descendants of Pinchas, and they're descendants all the way to Aaron. That's what the context is, and you understand that because you read it, so I'm glad. Okay, so is there an interpretation to say that you are Sadukim? You may be a person who may be righteous, but if you're not of the line of Aaron, then you're not from the line of Zadok. Right?
Right.
And it bothers me when they take literal verses and they over-spiritualize it and they corrupt the verse, and it's creating confusion. Okay, so from this moment on, Repeat after me. All the high priests are Levites.
All the high priests are Levites.
Not all the Levites are high priests.
Not all the Levites are high priests.
That means that from this moment on, the only thing in your mind is not the regular Levites, because there were different types of Levites. Did you know that there were 24 priestly temple guards? Three of the priestly line, and the rest were Levites. Okay? There were 24 priestly courses. There were 15 priests that were administrators of the temple. Each administrator had a staff of 10 people. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. All the buildings, everything was a well-oiled machine. Everything worked perfectly, you know? And no one bothered with one another. Everybody knew their job. Okay, so from this moment on, we're talking only about Aaron and his descendants. You with me?
Yes.
Okay, so now watch this. It says, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, I'm going to reverse this now. For this Melchizedek, priest of Salem, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Elohim, who made Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being the interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace. Read next verse with me. Without. Wait a second. Yeshua had a genealogy. Yeshua had a mother. Correct?
Yes.
So it says without father, without mother. Now, Yeshua has a heavenly father, but he also had an earthly father. I don't believe that his earthly father was his biological father. Okay, I believe he's come from a supernatural birth. Do I understand it? No. Do I believe it? Yes. Do I need to understand everything? No. I'm just going to have to keep believing until Messiah returns and he plays the DVD. Remember? Plays the DVD and he tells us how it happened. And then we're going to ask Yeshua, can you tell me something? How did that happen? He goes, well, I was just minding my own business in heaven. And the Father says, you want to go to earth? You know, anyway. Let's make it happen. So anyway, so without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto, right? The Son of Elohim abideth what? Continually. That's the difference. So who is it talking about there? Melchizedek, right? Now Yeshua comes in the likeness of Melchizedek. The order of the word of Melchizedek, right? And the difference between the Melchizedek priesthood and the difference between the Aaronic priesthood is one thing. What is it?
Lineage.
Life. One lives forever, and the other one, you have to just get whatever you have left. If your high priest is righteous, the sons of Eli, remember the sons of Eli in the Bible?
Yeah.
The sons of Eli had two sons, and they would, I'm glad I never met those guys. They would take the best of the sacrifices. They would profane the women near the tabernacle. It's incredible.
Yes.
And Eli didn't say anything. He just let them do it. It's crazy. Anyway, so he was talking about genealogy, okay? One lives forever, the other one doesn't. Now consider how great this man was, whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. And I don't want to read all the way through, that will take me too long to dissect. Is that okay?
Yeah.
But now, we're talking about what so far? Are we talking about the Torah right now? Or are we talking about the laws concerning the high priesthood? That's what we're going to get into. Is your brain hurt yet?
No.
That's the whole idea. Okay, so, read it with me. If, therefore, perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under the people received the Torah, what further need was there for another priest should arise after the order of Melchizedek and not be called after the order of Aaron? So obviously the writer is being honest. He is making a comparison. You know, if the Levitical priesthood was to bring you perfection, then why do we need another high priest? Understand, when was the book of Hebrews written? Approximately when? Come on now, people, let's go. We need to know this. This is the New Testament. You know, this is not the Torah or some ancient books. These are the books that we need to really focus in, because all the arguments against the Torah are based on this book. Anybody, if you talk to a Baptist, to talk to Adventist, I've talked to all of them, and they'll always use the book of Hebrews to establish an argument against Torah. Isn't that right? Okay? So, we need to understand these principles. When was the book approximately written? In the year, somewhere between the years 66 to 70. What was going on in Israel during that time? The sieging of Jerusalem by the Romans. So can you imagine that the center of worship of Israel has been threatened by the Romans, and they know the temple is going to be destroyed? So the letter of the Hebrews is a letter of comfort to the people in Jerusalem, letting them know that they have a greater high priest.
Wow.
That they have hope.
Yeah.
That if the temple is destroyed, don't worry. You have a high priest who's not on the earthly tabernacle, but on the heavenly. Remember what it says in the book of Exodus, to make a copy of the earthly tabernacle is a copy of the heavenly tabernacle, right? So which begs the question, I'm going to get on the subject here real quick, because I don't want to forget what I'm going to say. I've always wondered, and I know you probably have the same question, and if you have the same question, please raise your hand. How is it that the Lamb of the Lord can cover you from before the foundations of the earth? I mean, think about it. And by the way, if everything is atoned by blood, then how can, if there's no temple for 2,000 years, then how can you be in the kingdom? The best evidence that we know Yeshua is the Messiah is the fact that the temple was destroyed. Because if the temple was still standing today, or back then what happens is a priest of the line of Aaron, a kosher one, would have risen up, and they have full rights to be the high priest, because Yahweh established them. So the Lord, so that he would not break his word, he already prophesied through the book of Daniel. Is the temple destroyed? Is the priesthood eliminated? No. The temple is destroyed where they worship and where they do the service, then they can't do it. Because I'm a son of Aaron, and I'm here, but I cannot officiate. First of all, I'm not an Orthodox, and I believe in Yeshua. They would eliminate me on the get-go, but it doesn't matter. The fact is that there are many priests and there are Levites going around in the world, and they cannot really officiate. There's no temple. For the moment the altar is rededicated again, they go back to their service. And what's interesting is in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 40, verse 47, chapter 40 to 47, you notice that Passover and Sukkot are the only feasts mentioned. Did you know that? Passover and Sukkot. Pentecost is not mentioned. Yom Teruah is not mentioned. Yom Kippur is not mentioned. I'm not saying that it's not going to be there, but it doesn't mention. The menorah is not mentioned. The Ark of the Covenant is not mentioned. The showbread is not mentioned. The red heifer is not mentioned. Whole bunch of elements that are found in the second temple and the tabernacle that are not found in the millennial reign temple. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even mention the high priest. It mentions the sons of Zadok, but it doesn't say they're going to go into the Holy of Holies. The prince, right? And by the way, the prince is going to do what? He's going. This is a shocker. On Passover, he's going to take the blood of a bull, and he's going to put it on the threshold of the door of the temple. Whole bunch of elements that completely change. So Yeshua is the anointed king. He's not the crowned king. So therefore now, right now, he's the high priest first, and he's the anointed king. When he returns, he's going to be a priest, but he cannot officiate on the earth, because he's not the son of Levites. He can only officiate on the heavenly realm, but he will be the king. You follow? So that means that the roles reverse. Come on, you want me to repeat that again?
Yes.
Okay. You look at me like I'm nuts. So. Okay, so Yeshua is the anointed king right now. He will become the crowned king. So he is the high priest today. But when he returns, the roles will reverse. He will be a priest, like Zechariah says, but he is going to be a king first. But because he cannot officiate in the tabernacle to go into the Holy of Holies, the book of Ezekiel doesn't mention it. I don't believe that Yeshua will have access to the Holy of Holies because he didn't have access to the Holy of Holies when he was alive. Nowhere, and that's a biblical precedent, by the way. If Yeshua cannot change what he established, when he came the first time, he could only go to certain places in the temple. He could not go into the holy place, he could not go into the Holy of Holies the first time he came around. What makes you think he's going to change any of that when he returns? He can't. Because he has to abide by the same words that were established on Mount Sinai. Because then he'll be breaking law. You follow?
Yes.
People don't think about that.
Does it have to exist then?
The what? The temple?
The Holy of Holies?
It will be there.
If that's the presence of Yahweh and then Yeshua becomes the presence, do you need to have that?
Yes, you still need the temple.
You still, the temple, yes.
Yes.
The Holy of Holies.
Well, the Holy of Holies is part of it. But the Holy of Holies is part of
You
it.
can't do away with any of it.
You can't do away with any of it. Doesn't mean that there's going to be anything done there.
No.
That I don't know. But the structure has to be there. And by the way, the reason why the temple needs to be restored is because from millennia, anytime you have an enthronement ceremony, you have to build a temple for that God. So therefore, when Messiah returns, there will be an enthronement ceremony, and then there's got to be a temple, and the temple represents his authority. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I just want to know, where will be the Ark of the Covenant?
We don't know. Because even the book of Ezekiel doesn't mention it. And there are verses that says that no more will be spoken of. We don't know. That I don't know. I wish, I would love to know. Can you imagine if we find the Ark of the Covenant today? All of the arguments will end. There will be some serious wars in the world. Think about it. If the Ark of the Covenant was found today, there will be no longer any doubt that Israel did exist in the land of Israel, that there was a temple, and there is a creator, and that will make every story in that Bible true. And now every nation who has hate for Israel would even try to destroy it. It will be amazing. People don't think about that, but it's true. Okay, so anyway, we answer those. Yes.
Who will be the high priest?
It doesn't mention one. It does not mention one. It says the sons of Zadok, who are descendants of Aaron, but they're going to do different types of jobs. It doesn't mention the Holy of Holies. That's so peculiar. They only go to certain places. Now, again, I'm still researching this stuff out. I'm still looking into it, so I don't have all the information today. Just, this is all I got.
You're talking about now the temple after the millennium.
No, we're talking about the Millennium Temple. We don't know what's going to happen after the millennium. We know that Jerusalem will come from heaven. That's all I know. And then we're going to ask Yeshua to play the DVD. I don't know. I wish I did.
It's been 1,000 years teaching.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into the 1,000 years right now. All right, so what I was going to mention was the fact that, let me ask you this. Is time only relevant to us, or is it relevant outside the earth? Only for us, right? So this is what's really peculiar that I never caught on to until I began to do teachings and studying cosmology and studying all this stuff. When you go into outer space, earthly time is no longer relevant. You go by light years, okay, which is very fascinating. It's another study in itself. So let me ask you a question. If time is only relevant to us on the earth, right, and the temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago, so then how can the blood of Messiah still be relevant today? Because they have to do it every year in the temple, right? Okay. But what if I submit to you that by Yeshua going to the heavenly tabernacle where there's no time? So whatever happened 2,000 years ago is as if it happened today. Because there's no time. That's actually, that's a temple language. He's quoting, give me 1 second. He's quoting a verse from the book of Revelation that talks about what the Amidah. The Amidah, which is prayer. Remember when Zechariah went into the temple to pray? It took him a little longer. the normal time that the priest will pray in the holy place was between 15 and 20 minutes, a half hour. That's exactly how long it takes for the Amidah to be done. So therefore, the language in the book of Revelation deals with the prayers that they will do, the priest in the holy place and the holy holies. Very good point. Yes, sir?
I'm not sure if you may have just asked the question, but I was saying, what I wanted to say was, it's not that time isn't relevant, it's just that time is a different rate.
Yes, you're right. Thank you for the correction. The time is a different rate. So it's like, but to us, the only time that matters to us is this one. You know, there is a different rate, different type of measuring of time. So
it still passes.
Of course, but it's different. Like the Bible says, 1,000 days.
1 day.
So, exactly. You know, I was talking to a physicist one time at the airport, and I asked him a question, and he tried to verify. This is what he said. I heard it from two different people. He said that I told him about the story somebody told me, that there was a particular scientist who told him that if two people set their watches at the same time, I set our watch, maybe you heard this too. If we set the time at the same, and I tell you, I'm going to go into outer space for 26 days, and you 26 days here. In 26 days, I'll call you from space. You'll already be dead 26,000 years. Because the light years is very different. I mean, it's taking a satellite to get to one planet like 9 years. Whole bunch of years to get over there. So, I'm sorry?
These years.
Right. So what I'm saying is, like what my brother just said, the rate is different. So could it be possible that in the eyes of the Creator it's only been 2 days? And He's outside of our time frame. So whatever He did, He took that blood and He indexed it in the heavenly tabernacle, renewing that covenant. That means that it's still fresh as if it happened yesterday.
That's why it's taking so long to come back.
Exactly. To us it's only 2 days or so many people. We're going like, will you return already? He's going like, it's only 2 days. I mean, come on, let me rest a little bit, you know?
I'm going to take it a week to sort this whole mess out.
Right. So, you know, he's probably saying, well, you keep rushing me. It's only been 2 days. I just spent the whole thing on the tree and I'm being resurrected. Let me enjoy myself a little, my Father, you know? Anyway. So does that make sense? So here we're talking about one order versus the order. Where does one order does the service versus where the other order does the service? What makes this order better and what makes this order weak? It has nothing to do with the laws of the Torah. Are you with me? It has all to do with the order of the priesthood and trying to give a letter of comfort to the people in Jerusalem saying, if the temple is destroyed, I don't want you to worry. We already have a backup plan. Because it's the only book that talks about Yeshua in that manner. No other book. No other letter. Okay? So now, for the priesthood being changed. It's not talking about the Torah being changed. The priesthood, but wait a minute. Which priesthood is being changed? Which one? Yeah, but which branch of the earthly priesthood? Because it's talking about the order of Aaron. It's not talking about the regular Levites. Exactly. And that's the mistake that every Christian brother that I know makes. They do not know the difference between the high priest and the regular Levites. They don't know that there were priests and Levites, and within the priest, there's the high priest. So the lack of understanding in the temple, they throw the baby and the bathwater at the same time. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to take my time, trying to give you a foundation. We've been doing this now for how long now? You know, since 10:30. And I'm getting into it now because I want to give you a broad understanding of, it's not just reading a verse and thinking you know something. It's understanding the whole. It's taking me 17 years and I'm finally getting it. And I have a teacher who helps me. And there are things that I'm correcting because I didn't have all the information. So this is a journey we're in, you know what I mean? Constantly. So please do me a favor. When you study the Torah and you get all excited and you all go around and you're really learning and touching everything, when you deal with the temple, take a deep breath, stop, and don't come to your own conclusions. Please. Find a teacher. Someone who knows more than you on that. I've been studying it for a while, and every week I sit with my teacher for an hour or two, I learn. And I constantly learn. Man, and when I sit with that guy, it's amazing. Let me tell you a little story. I want to do a whole study next year, and I don't think I'm going to get to it, of the temple service language in the New Testament. All through all the books of the Bible, on the New Testament. Temple service language. Anything that deals with temple, I want to do a service. So Matthew says, Luke this, and they give you the whole shebang, you know? So I told my teacher, I said, would you give me homework on it? He goes, okay, just read the first 5 chapters of Matthew and tell me what you find there according to the temple. I read 13 chapters, and I could only find maybe one little bitty thing. And I'm going, Joe, man, I can't see anything. I mean, he goes, well, go to chapter this and verse this. And I read the verse and don't see anything. He goes, really? He goes, let's look at that word in the Hebrew. And who are they? We spent 2 hours on that one verse. He took me from here, there, and going like, I told him, I said, I have no business being teaching this stuff. You know how humbling it is? And it was exciting, it was scary at the same time, because here I am thinking I know something on the temple, and this gentleman just took me 2 hours on one verse that I never saw before. He did the same thing in Ephesians. I'm reading one verse in Ephesians about something else. He goes, look at that word right there. What does that mean? I said, I don't know. And then he took me all the way to Yom Kippur and the language of redemption and the Feast of Trumpets. And then he showed me Micah. He showed me all that stuff. I did a whole teaching on my website on that, based on that one verse. It's fascinating. So there's a lot of things in there that we still need to. So when it comes to the temple, take your time. Don't rush it. Okay? All right, let's move on. For the priesthood being changed, there is a necessity of change also of the law. Which law are we talking about here? All of the Torah or the law concerning the high priesthood? Okay. And by the way, the only way it's changed is because the temple was destroyed. Correct? If the temple was standing, it wouldn't have changed. Because for 40 straight years, after Yeshua died and resurrected, they were still doing the sacrifices I showed you earlier. Now I'm going to come back to what you said. And the Talmud clearly tells us that there were some miracles that occurred in the temple. One of the miracles was that there was never a fly, an insect in the temple courts. Now that's a slaughterhouse. There was never one fly. Okay? There was never bad odor. That's why they had incense. It's to neutralize and to also, the wood on the altar, cedar wood, is also insect repellent. Okay? The incense would eliminate mold from the temple and would also eliminate some of the smell from the animals and the entrails. I mean, everything was, I'm telling you, it's amazing. Another one of the miracles was that the fire on the altar always stayed lit. Didn't matter how much it rained. It always stayed lit. That the cloud, the pillar of cloud that will go up, it didn't matter how much wind it was, it never dissipated. So when you hear, let your prayers be a sweet aroma to my nostrils, you can literally see, you will bring your sacrifice, and all of a sudden they put the meat on the altar, and then you see that cloud go up, and it goes straight to the heavens. And so, okay. Now, it had to smell like a steakhouse.
Yes.
Think about it. I mean, how many of you have done a grilling of a nice steak with salt only with salt? That happened. I did that in Wyoming in the States. They took me camping, and all of a sudden, this lady puts in a very beautiful kosher, meat of steak. I mean, really nice. And they put it on the grill with only salt. And I'm thinking, ooh, that's going to taste nasty. Man, that was so good. Can you imagine a huge altar with all those sacrifices? They put salt on it. The priest ate all that, by the way, some of it. But I'm thinking, can you imagine how good that smelled? You get into the temple, you go, and the high priest could not eat the whole day for 24 hours. He could not sleep for 24 hours. He could not eat for the whole time. And this guy is going around putting the offerings on the altar, doing all the sacrifices himself. That's torture. Especially when you're hungry, Man, if I have billions of dollars and I could build a house to the king, that would be amazing. You know what it is to be in the presence of the Lord and to see the Levites singing in perfect harmony and to see the people worshiping at the same time and they sing in songs and then you go, oh man, it's the most beautiful thing that you can imagine, to be in the temple of the king. It's amazing. So now what we have here is the example of, the priesthood officiating. Keep in mind as we read this, that the priesthood of the first century was profaned. They were corrupted. You have to keep that in mind. When this happened, let's go to Acts chapters 1, and somebody look for Luke chapters 1, please. I'm going to show you something important. When somebody has chapters, Luke chapters 1, read verse 1 through 3 for me. Whoever has Acts chapter 1, you can start reading, please. Anybody?
Inasmuch as many have taken in
Real loud, I can't hear you.
Inasmuch as many have taken in hand to set in order a narrative of these things which have been fulfilled among us, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word delivered them to us. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write to you an orderly account, most excellent Theophilus.
Okay, so Luke is writing to who? Theophilus. Who's got Acts chapters 1? You got it, brother, in the back? You got it?
In the former account, which I prepared of Theophilus.
Okay, stop there. The former account. Which account is that one? Luke.
Yeah.
And he's writing it to, continue, brother? Of Theophilus?
I made a continuous report dealing with all things which Yeshua began to do and to teach.
Okay, so now the book of Acts, the letter to the Acts, the book of Acts, and the book of Luke is written to one person. Theophilus. Many people in the Christian scholar says, oh, that means friend of God or something like that. Theo, Philo. Okay? But did you know that Theophilus was the grandson of Ananias? So now we have Luke and Luke in two letters, writing the letters to one guy, who happens to be a high priest, who happens to be related to Ananias. In the year somewhere, year 44 to 60, somewhere around there. Interesting, right?
Yes.
And that's why chapters 1 and 2 of the book of Luke is all temple service. That's why chapters 1 and 2 in the book of Acts is temple service. The day of Pentecost. Luke talks about Zechariah, talks about the Nidal laws, talks about sacrifices. I mean, Luke is writing to this particular gentleman everything that happened with Yeshua, and he starts with temple service language. Read the first 2 chapters of those books. You cannot understand chapters 2 if you don't know the day of Pentecost. So you have to go to the Mishnah to read the tractate on Shavuot. You got to go to the Mishnah to read the tractate, the chapters on Yomam, Midot, and Tamid, and Korbanot. You can go to the Mishnah Torah, which is another volume. It's called Sefer HaKorbanot, the book of the sacrifices, or Sefer HaAvodah, which is this thick. It tells you everything they did in the temple, every day. They even had a doctor, because they would eat more meat in 1 week than they would all year, because in the ancient world they only ate meat during the holidays. But the priests have to eat meat every day. So they had a doctor going around making sure they're not getting stomach problems. Did you guys know that? No. See, we have to understand this stuff. This is a real thing. Alright? Okay, let's continue. For he of whom these things are spoken pertain to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance on the altar, right? Talking about Yeshua. For it is evident that our master sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning the priesthood. Very important verse. Very important verse. Now, read it with me, please. And if it is yet far more evident that for that after the similitude of Melchizedek there arises another priest. It's talking about Yeshua. So that means that Yeshua himself is not Melchizedek. it says that Yeshua is doing the role and the order of Melchizedek.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yes.
So it's an order of. That means it can be more than one Melchizedek. Adam could have been the Melchizedek order. Abraham could have been in the Melchizedek order. You know, but then after that, the Levites were established on the earth. So that means that the Melchizedek order cannot officiate now anymore. The only place that they can officiate is where? Which, by the way, can the Levites officiate up there? No. So now there's not what? Encroachment going on. And that's what the chapter is trying to tell you. Well, listen, the writer is very honest. Hey, Yeshua came from Judah. Nothing spoken about him on the altar. Okay?
Yeah.
It says, who is made not after the law of the carnal commandment, but after the power of?
Endless life.
The power of?
An endless life.
That is so significant in this teaching. Okay? It says, for he testified, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. It's peculiar because this chapter is going to be quoting Psalms 110:4 like 4 times. It quotes it right after the other. Okay? So, similar to these resemblance, like as. How many of you never really looked at the book of Hebrews in this way before? Raise your hand so I have an idea. Is this helping you?
Yes.
And the reason why I'm doing it is because, as all of you, I know that some of you have 10 years or less. But this is something that will come to your shores. Trust me. This teaching will come. And if you're the small remnant who are learning these things, you need to be equipped and you need to learn. Listen, consider my website as a resource center. It's only $10 a year or $20 a month if you want to download some teachings. I have 2 other teachers. We got over 300 videos. We have PowerPoints. We have resources. We have articles. We have all kinds of stuff. You know, it's only, I mean, you have a pound. You know how much better that is? It breaks my heart coming over here, man. I have to spend twice the money. You know? But anyway, consider us a resource. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but go in and give it an opportunity to study it out and research and compare notes. And you know what? If you have something that you can add and you can correct and you can verify it, then send it to me. I'm willing to look at it. It's not a problem. You know, I want it to become a resource center so we can learn from one another. Because the reality is that I'm blessed to be doing this full time. My job is to get up in the morning and study. You know, and I don't take that lightly. To me, that's an honor. And I know some of you may not have the time. Like my brother's saying, you know, I work full time and I come and I study, you know, and I want to facilitate and empower him. You know, I mean, like my pastor, my brother who has a congregation, if there's something that you like to study, whatever, and you don't have the time, because I know pastors is hard, man. Pastors are difficult. You know, you got to take care of the people's needs, and you have to take care. Sometimes you don't even have time to study and get ready. You know, so if we can help you in any way to facilitate some of the teachings so that you can bless the people. You know, you don't even have to say it's mine. Who cares? It's the Lord's anyway. The whole idea is to bless the people.
Yes.
And I want you to be equipped. So when someone comes out with this crazy theology, you can say, excuse me, let's go through the process. Did you know this? And they're going to say, well, no. Well, why don't we consider that? We don't have to make them feel bad. So let's consider that. Let's study that out. And then let's see if at the end everything lines up. But if we don't know it, and if I don't share it with you, then I'm not helping you.
Yes.
And I'm not going to come all the way from the States, away from my family. I can't wait to go home tomorrow. I love y'all, but I want to go to my wife. You know, my wife is my wife. I got to get home. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I want to share this, and I'm taking a lot of time to do it because I really want you to grasp.
Yes.
You know, I really want, okay, I get it. I know what you mean. Okay? So I'm giving you breaks mentally, and I go into little stories on purpose. That is called a mental break. It's called a commercial. I learned that when I used to be a host on TV for Home Shopping Network. I used to do that for 2 years. And they tell you, hey, man, you sell something, don't give them a break. Alright? Anyway, so.
Amazing.
So it says, read it with me, please. For there is a setting aside of the commandment going before because of his weakness and uselessness. Wait a second. Is it talking about the Torah? I mean, the Torah is everlasting. So obviously there's something wrong. By the way, A lot of the pastors use that verse to say the Torah is no longer binding. Okay? Let's find out what it is. For the law made nothing perfect. For the bringing of a better hope did, by which we draw near to Elohim. Do you know that word near to Elohim is a temple service language? It's korban. The word korban, repeat after me, korban, is to draw near. It's not sacrifices, it's the worst translation you can have. It's not even sacrifice, it's to come near. Korbanot, to bring a sacrifice, to bring an animal, is to come near the Lord for restoration. Alright? For as inasmuch as not without an oath, this is the tricky part, so you need to really pay attention to this. Okay? As inasmuch as not without an oath, he was made priest. Who is made priest there? Yeshua, right? But it had to be without an oath. As inasmuch as not without an oath, he was made priest. For those priests that were without an oath, who were those? Come on, this is the tricky part. If you get this part, you get everything else. Okay. Who were the ones who were there without an oath?
Well, the ones that were corrupt.
The high priesthood of Aaron. Why? Because it was through genealogy. They were already anointed into this priesthood, and then after that is the firstborn of the high priest. That's it. Forever. Regardless of how good or bad he was. I mean, can you imagine? Which one would you rather have? Yeshua as your high priest in the heavenly realm? Or some crazy guy that you don't know what you're getting to? I mean, hello. You know, I'd rather have Yeshua. But when the temple's restored, we need to put priests according to the heart of the Lord. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Making sense?
Yes.
Okay. It says, for those priests who are made without an oath, but this with an oath by him that said unto him, the Lord swore and will not repent, you are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Read this with me. And so much was Yeshua made a surety of a better testament. The word better is incorrectly translated. What does it say in your translation right there, my brother? Can you find that verse for me? It's verse 22 of chapter 7.
This is better covenant.
Uh-huh.
In that so much was Yeshua made a guardian of the Priesthood.
What? Does it have better?
Stronger.
Stronger. That's the right one. Thank you. What version is that one? It's not a King James, I know that. It's probably NSV.
Probably so.
Yeah. The word is proskeno in Greek. See if I find it. Here you go. No, kraton, I'm sorry. The word is kraton. Stronger, nobler, better. When you put an English word better, in our minds, you think, well, this one's better than that one. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So they chose the wrong word in the English to outline the context. Why is the order of Melchizedek better than the order of Aaron? Because why? Because he lives forever. Remember that in the beginning? So why is it stronger? That means that he's going to go to the high priest. He's going to go to the heavenly tabernacle. He lives forever. And he is righteous. He's holy. He's going to intercede on your behalf. He's not corrupted. So he's stronger. He can hold it together better than a Levite and than a high priest in the order of Aaron, who may be corrupted, like in the first century. Remember the first century they're corrupted?
Yeah.
See, when you paint the whole picture, everything makes more sense. It's like, oh, I get it. And that makes more sense. Okay, keep that in mind. And they were truly what? Men, because they were not to suffer to continue by reason of
Death.
So what's better then? One lives and one dies. That means that the whole office is better because you can count on this one, Yeshua, being alive. Why? Because he is in a different time space.
Yeah.
2 days since he came. Versus the other priests who are on the earth and they suffer from sickness. They suffer from the same things we suffer. They die. And if they die, can you imagine it's like having a great president. The best president we ever had, Ronald Reagan. Man, they still talk about that. And he was good. He was no nonsense. He didn't play around, man. He told it like it was. And I hate politics. But the way that things are going right now, sometimes I go like, man, can we go back to 1984? You know? Because we need somebody who can stand up and say, this is how it's going to be, this is how it is, and we do things because it's right, not because it's politically correct. You know, well, the whole thing in the Torah is the same way. The Torah is the Lord saying, we got to do what is right. We don't do with politics here. You don't buy the priesthood, because I'm the king and I set you guys up. When you buy the priesthood from the Romans, you are saying the Romans are the one who ordained you for that. By the way, question. How many priests died from the return of Nehemiah and Ezra all the way to the destruction of the second temple? How many priests died? There were over 300 that died. How many priests officiated from the tabernacle to the destruction of the first temple? 12. 12 high priests versus over 300. Did you know that none of the 300 were anointed? There was what is called an investment. They would put the garments on and off in the Mount of Olives, but none of them had the oil that God told Moses to make to anoint the kings and the priests. And then remember, Eli lived to be 90-something years. So imagine long life. So you can have what? 4 priests, each one living over close to 100 years. So all of a sudden, after the destruction of the temple, they come back from Babylon. They got all kinds of people. They got the Hasmonean family. How many of you read the book of Maccabees? Okay? Well, you know the book of Maccabees, they were the line of Levites and they were the line of Aaron, but they were not the ones that were supposed to be the high priests. And they even made it worse by becoming kings. They were not allowed to become kings, and they became kings. And that's what all the sect of Judaism came into being. All the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and all that. That did not exist in the tabernacle. That didn't exist in Babylon. That originated after the Hasmonean family took over. So all these different religious groups came after the Babylonian captivity, and they came after the Hasmonean family took over. Politics. Okay? Yes, sir?
At some point, could you go into the differences of the Gershonites, Merari, Kohath, their specific roles, if there were any difference?
There were a lot of differences, and I don't remember, it's in the book of Numbers, that's a great question. I don't really have specific in my mind what they were doing in the roles. The book of Numbers tells you exactly what they were doing, but there were specific roles. One, for example, can cover, the sons of Aaron can cover the ark of the covenant. Now, the Kohites, they can carry them. Okay, and then the Merari, they can do something else. So they all have different roles. And by the way, when you set up your congregation based on the roles in the Bible, you eliminate a lot of problems. If you set up a congregation, you give people definite roles. And in the temple, everything worked perfectly because everybody knew their roles. And this is something that we don't understand. That's why I get along well with some of the other teachers, and I don't infringe in what they're teaching because I recognize my role. It's the temple, ancient covenants, and I know my role. I don't go out there and try to teach Hebrew. I used to do that until I began to learn Hebrew about 5 years ago, and I stopped because I recognized I have no business be teaching Hebrew. You know? I mean, when you go out there and you know that one little vowel point can change the whole context of the whole sentence, and you think you know Hebrew, because we know Paleo-Hebrew, and we know Phoenician and all the stuff, and then we change everything, be careful. You know, one little jot. So I leave that to the Hebrew scholars. Now, I still learn Hebrew, but I don't teach it. I can do basic stuff, but why? I mean, there are people who can do that, you know what I mean? So I'm respectful because of roles. So Merari and Kohath and things like that. And Korah got in trouble when he wanted to do somebody else's role.
Yes, yes.
It's called encroachment or infringing, usurping the authority. Right now, that's really all I have because I can't remember from the top of my head each role.
Interested to know just how did that play out, even in the New Testament period, how did they develop? How did they evolve? How did those 3 different groups?
Actually, that's a good question. Let's make a highlight there real quick and go there. We can go to Chronicles 9. Let's go to Chronicles 9. And when they came back from Babylon, they established the priestly courses. And first, I think it's 2 Chronicles, so bear with me because I studied that the other day and you got to remember exactly what it is. If it's not 1 Chronicles, it's 2 Chronicles. And it tells you about the duties of the Levites. In chapters 24, it tells you the duties of the Levites. In chapters 23 of 1 Chronicles, it tells you the number of Levites. And then in verse 7, it tells you the organization of the Gershon, was one of the. And then in verse 12, it tells you the organization of the Kohites, right? And then it tells you the organization of the Merari, exactly what you're asking. And then in verse 24, it tells you about the Levites. So as you see here, the Levites, even though they are all Levites, but the sons of Aaron, okay, they have different roles. They have different access. And then in chapters 24, you have all the 24 priestly courses, which are the sons of Aaron. Now, I want us to go here and read real quickly before we continue going. Because in verse 6 says, and the scribe Shemaiah, the son of Nathaniel, and one of the Levites, wrote them down before the king, the leaders, Zadok the priest, Ahimelech, the son of Abiathar, and the head of the father's house, and the priest and the Levites, one's father's house taken for Eleazar and one for Ithamar. Now, these are the 24 priestly courses in which the temple functioned by in the first century also. If you study the 24 names of all these priests, you can get a great message of redemption. I've done that research, it took me forever. But when you read through, listen to this. The first lot came Yehoarim, the second Yediah, the third Harim, the fourth Seorim, the fifth Malchijah, the kingdom of God. That's what it means, Malchijah. And it says the sixth Miyamim. It says from my right hand. The seventh is Hakos. The eighth Abiyah, my father Lord. And then the ninth is Yeshua. Now, you know that John the Baptist was from the land of Abiyah. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
John the Baptist was from Abiyah. And then in this order of the 24 priestly courses, you have the next one is Yeshua. Now, listen to the 10th. Shechaniah, which comes from presence, Shechinah. And then the 11th, Eliashib. The 12th, Hakim. The 13th, Chuppah. Chuppah is a canopy, marriage canopy.
Yes.
So if you go back to those 24 priestly courses and you start defining the names, you're going to find a very interesting message in that. It will be really, really cool.
Hallelujah.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
So what you see, even Yeshua, prophetically, even though Yeshua is not a high priest in the line of Aaron, but Yeshua was prophetically outlined for us in the 24 priestly courses. And by the way, this was cast by lots.
Wow.
It's not like David was sitting there and he says, Harim, you're going to stand right there, and Milchaya, you're going to stand right there, and let's make a message for the believers in the last 21st century, you know? No, it was by lot, okay? And by the way, in the temple service, they used to do this where each family will go do the service for 2 weeks of the year.
Yes.
Okay? Not including the feast. It was in cycles. If you understand the 24 priestly courses, then you can definitely trace when Zechariah, the angel, was revealed to him, and then you know exactly when John the Baptist was born, then you know exactly when Yeshua was born. Because the Bible tells you that Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant when Miriam, right?
Yes.
Next, let's move on. Okay, see, here goes. Where was I? Read verse 22 for me, please. By so much more Yeshua made a surety of a stronger testament. And they truly were many priests because they were to suffer by reason of death. But he, who's he? Because he continues for as an unchangeable. So it's not talking about the Torah, right? It's talking about the priesthood. Next. Therefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come to Elohim by him, seeing that he lives forever to make intercession for them. Read it with me, please. For it was fitting for us to have such a
high priest
who is holy, blameless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and made higher in the heavens. High priest, not the regular Levites, not the regular priests. High priest. Man, there was one time, I'm talking to this particular pastor, he drove me nuts. I'm trying to show him, brother, it says high priest. No, that means the whole Levitical priesthood. I said, brother, high priest, and I mentioned the names of the different, he just would not get it. So there was a 12-year-old in the audience. And I called the 12-year-old. And I talked to him. Repeat after me. All the priests are Levites, but not all the Levites are high priests. And I said, what does it say right there? High priest. And I said, all the Jews are Israel, but not all the Israelites are Jews. And then I pulled out my choshen, my breastplate. And I told the 12-year-old, the Jews only make one of the 12 tribes. You get it, right? And the boy says, duh, yeah. I looked at the pastor and says, you know, I hate to, he was so confrontational.
Yes.
And I'm trying to dialogue with him. He just would not get it. And I told him, brother, but consider this. No, because the Bible says, yeah, I understand. So finally, I said, why can't we be like a 12-year-old? Why can't we just believe it because it says it? It was not meant to embarrass him. It was to show him, like, how come a 12-year-old gets it? Because he reads it and reads it in context, and he doesn't care about any spiritual application. He's just reading what it says. And that's the whole motivation. Let's be a 12-year-old sometimes. Let's just believe what it says. You follow?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't say regular people. It says the high priest, who does not need daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice for his own sins, and then for the people's, for he did this once when he offered himself. How come he doesn't need to do that anymore? Because he's where? And when he did it up there, it's as if he did it 2 days ago. It's still valid, correct?
Yes.
All right. For the law appoints men high priest. Read it with me. For the law appoints high priest. Repeat that again. High priest, which have infirmity. What is the infirmity? They die. So the context so far, would you agree with me, that the context so far in this chapter has nothing to do with the law of Moses? But if you take one verse in chapter 8 and one verse in chapter 7, then you can make a theology out of it, right?
Yes.
But if we are honest with the verses and we follow and we translate the word better to stronger,
Yes.
and we do break down the history, then it's logical. It's talking about the high priest. It mentions it like 3 or 4 times. And it says, so, in chapters 5, verse 1 and 2, for every
High priest.
taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins, who can have compassion on Israel and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also compassed with infirmity. Okay? That's why Yeshua needed to come to the earth. So he can relate with us. He went through every single thing that we go through. He went through every single thing that you go through, my young lady, as a 15-year-old. Because he was 15. That's hard for us to imagine. But he went through everything. I'm pretty sure he got a call eventually. I mean, he was a human like every single one of us. He must have been tempted also by women.
Yes.
You know, he was a man. Can you all please read chapters 8, verse 1 for me together? 1, 2, 3.
Now of the things which we have spoken.
Stop! This is the conclusion. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how can anybody take chapters 8, verse 7 and teach out of it alone when the first verse of chapter 8 clearly says that this is the sum of the matter that we've been spoken? In other words, you cannot understand chapters 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 if you don't read 1 through 7.
Yes, very good.
You see what I mean? Anyway, so watch this. Now these are the things which we have spoken. This is the Son.
Yes.
We have such a
High priest.
who is seated at the.
Right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens.
So question, where's Yeshua right now? On the throne of the Father or on the side? Okay, so why do people continually to put Yeshua on the throne of the Father?
Yeah, that's true.
And this is a problem. Because then that Yeshua facilitates for us to go to the Father. It doesn't diminish Yeshua in any way. It shows perfect order. So all honor and praise and worship goes to the Father first.
Yes.
We can honor our Messiah, of course.
Yes.
But when every knee will bow down, I mean when He returns in the clouds, every knee will bow down. Right? Because He's going to be our King. Who put Him there as a King? And this is something that in the whole system of religion is out of whack. The hierarchy and the whole thing. Because they don't understand it. The Bible clearly says He sits at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, in the heaven. A minister of the sanctuary of the true tabernacle which Yahweh pitched in that man. Read it with me, please. For every
high priest.
How many times have we read high priest already in 2 chapters? Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
So how in the world do they get that the law is done away with? I don't know. See?
Yes.
For if He was on earth, read it with me, He should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. This is what I told you. So when Yeshua returns, can He go into and be a high priest? No, because He's not from the line of Aaron. He doesn't have legal jurisdiction on the earth to be the priest. He will have, however, legal jurisdiction to be king, because he was adopted by Joseph. And Joseph is from the line of David. Get it? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Hallelujah. So if I get on the plane tomorrow morning, should I be happy that you guys are getting it with me?
Yes.
Okay, that's important, you know. Listen, I'm not looking for you to say, oh, how great it was. No, no, no. It's not even about that. It's, I want to give you my best.
Yes.
I want to make sure that we take our time, break it down, even if I only do one teaching today. But if we do it the right way, I really believe this will help you have a lot of arguments being settled.
Yes.
From a lot of people, a lot of church folk that really want to learn, they just don't understand it. They don't study it. Just like today, I've mentioned a few things that you've never heard before.
Yes. Yeah.
How long were you a pastor for?
How long?
Yeah. Just make up a number. 5 years? 10?
10, 14.
10, 14 years. Honestly, before you came into the Hebrew roots, could you have said that you really understood the book of Hebrews? And he was a pastor. Now, was his desire to deceive people? No.
No.
Every pastor that I've ever met, their desire is to bring the gospel to the people.
Yes.
Every single one. I'm telling you. It's just that when they go to seminary schools, they are taught how to think and what to think, and they cannot question it. How do I know? Because I've been told by people who've been to seminaries. One of them told me, I knew there were some things that were wrong, but I was not allowed to express my mind, because if not, I'll lose my job, and then I don't have anything. I thought we were working for the Lord, not working for an organization. You know? Anyway, so, isn't it amazing though?
It wasn't about losing your job, but just not understanding and waiting for the Lord to reveal it.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you know, at least you were open enough to say, I want to learn.
Yes.
Many of them, they're afraid of losing their people. I had a pastor one time that he challenged me. He said, Rico, nice guy. It was a friendly challenge. He said, Rico, I want you to get all the verses that talks about the Sabbath, and I'll put my position on the Sunday. And I'm thinking, really? I mean, there's not one verse in the Bible that talks about Sunday. And I'm going like, that's a crazy debate. It's like, really? So he was telling me, well, but the first day of the week, I said, brother, first day of the week on that verse, it doesn't say that in Greek. It says, miaton Shabbaton. Okay, it doesn't say first day of the week. Okay? And then he kept telling me, oh, but this, and then I started all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end, and I told him, brother, listen, if Yeshua kept Sunday as a day of worship, then I will leave everything and go with you. But find me one verse in the Bible where Paul, Peter, John, where Yeshua kept Sunday as the day that is holy. If you find one verse, I'll quit everything and I'll follow you. You know? He goes, well, there isn't any. Then why do you want me to keep Sunday? And then he says, well, you mean, listen to what he said. This really shocked me. He says, you mean to tell me that I got to get in front of on the altar on this Sunday and tell everybody that I'm lying to them about the Sabbath, about Sunday, and that I have to quit? So I never said that. He was afraid of losing the 400 people.
Yes.
And sometimes it's amazing. You know the best thing that happened to you? You know, losing everybody when you're in the church. Because I guarantee you, when you start following Torah, nobody wants to talk to you anymore. You left, yeah. It's amazing. Oh, brother, we love you. We love you, brother. I want you to know, brother, we love you in the church. We love you so much. You know, we cannot do it without you. We love you. And then you say, brother, I found some revelation. The name of Jesus is really Yeshua. And by the way, Sabbath. Oh my God, it's from creation. And look, Jesus did it. And the pastor looks at you and, oh, interesting. It's cool. And then he goes home, sends you an email. He quotes you from Galatians,
Yeah.
Colossians.
Yeah.
Right? How many have that happened to? Do you know all over the world the same thing? It's incredible. And then they preach on the pulpit. They don't call you by name, but they're preaching against you.
Yes.
It happened to me.
Yes.
It happens to everybody. So welcome to the club, guys. Okay? We're the heretics. But you know something? It shows that you're willing to learn. It shows that you're willing to continue. And this is normal. This is the process that we all go through. Get over it. It's okay. You know? Trust me. When things get difficult, guess whose door they're going to be knocking on? Right now, I got people that would not talk to me 10 years ago that I say, hey, do you know what's going on? I mean, it's kind of strange. And, you know, none of the stuff that the church says is happening. And you seem to, like, you know, be balanced. And, you know, so can you tell me about it? The same people didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You just got to wait for the perfect timing. They'll come knocking. And then they say, what Hebrew says. And you're going to go like, would you mind sitting down, please? And then you start asking questions. Do you know about this? You're going to go, well, no. Now you have leverage. Remember, it's all about leverage. If you go to McDonald's, I know you'll never go to McDonald's, but if you go to McDonald's and you eat at McDonald's, I don't even eat that, but just pretend you do. Pretend you do. You eat at McDonald's, okay? And then you got filled up with all the Big Macs and stuff. You have like 4. Okay? And then I bring you the best steak. The best steak prepared by the best cook. Are you going to eat the steak? No. You're going to eat, man, bad example. Anyway, if you're full, you're not going to eat something else because you're full.
Yes.
But what's interesting is that you are full of what you think is food. Right? And you reject the best food because you ate trash that you think is food.
Yes.
Well, the same thing happens in theology. You are full of theology until then one day you wake up and you say, tell me if this sounds familiar. Man, I'm thirsty and I'm hungry for more. Right?
Yes.
This is a testimony everywhere, even Alaska. I go to Alaska, people come to me, Rico, man, there was one time I'm going to church, and at the beginning it was great, but then after a while, I felt like I was not getting fed the word, man, and I was hungry and thirsty. And now you can come with any information, the simple information like Jesus to Yeshua, and now they go, wow, where's more of this buffet? You have to wait for the timing. This teaching is the same way. This teaching is not easy for a lot of people. It's a lot of information like you hear this morning. And I'm taking my time, trust me, I'm taking my time today. Because if I give you the short version, it's too compact, too much info, and I really want you to get this, because by the time people start coming to your shores, bringing you another understanding to confuse, I want you to say, well, let's look at this in a complete manner here. And then you'll be able to make a better judgment, and you're not going to go derailed. People are rejecting Yeshua because of this lack of understanding. I know at least 10 people who rejected Yeshua. And they use the book of Hebrews as an example to say, well, you see, there are mistakes there, and there are mistakes here. Okay? For every high priest is ordained by gifts, sacrifice, so it is necessary that this man have something to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that they are priests to offer gifts according to the law. Okay, let's move on from this. Now, he has obtained a more excellent ministry by how much also he is a mediator of a stronger, can you look that up in your Bible again, please? Make sure the word is stronger. Okay? It says stronger covenant by which is established upon better promises. Okay, so what is stronger about the Melchizedek priesthood versus the Aaronic priesthood? No death. It's not talking about the law of Moses. It's talking about a better priesthood, stronger priesthood. How? Because one lives forever, the other one doesn't. Right? It's not corrupt. So now, watch this. Now, the word covenant does not appear in this chapter. We know that, right?
Yes.
But now when we read it without the word covenant, it makes more sense. So let's read it together. For if the first, okay, have been faultless, who is it talking about then? Huh? Oh, which one? The Aaronic priesthood. You see? It says, then should no place have been sought for a second. Which is the second? The Melchizedek priesthood, and now Yeshua is officiating, right? See how easy that is now? Only because we went back and looked at context. So now, when you look, the word diatheke, the word covenant, this word right here, look at the letters. Ugly looking letters there. Okay, and you look at it, it's not there. It's not in the Greek. So you can know it's not in the Greek. And any of the documents is in the Greek. Okay? Okay, so now, when you go in, and you start reading over here at the end, in verse 13. Okay? It says, for in that he says, a renewed, because the word there new is actually renewed, the word covenant is not found there. It says, he has made the first old. And by the way, everybody says, you see, the law is old now. But the chapter is not talking about the Torah, it's talking about the priesthood.
Yeah.
So what's it's made old? It says, he has made the first old, the sons of Aaron, and the high priest. Now that which decays and grows old is ready to vanish away. See, everybody uses that verse and says, see, they're done with it. But they don't understand the history. The history is that the verse is in no way saying that the Torah of the Lord is done away with. Never can his words be vanishing away. The temple was destroyed in the year 70 AD. When the book the Hebrews was approximately written, is in the year 64 to 66. So obviously they saw doom pending.
Yes.
Is that making sense?
Yes.
Okay, when you come back from lunch, when you come back from lunch, then we're going to cover chapters 9, and I'm going to show you the temple service, the book of Yom Kippur, the service of Yom Kippur being outlined for you in chapters 9. So that then, once and for all, you can really understand the whole consistency of chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay?
Yes.
Let's go eat.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.